Hello! Good morning, runners! Just starting this a few minutes early, just see if anybody is on yet. Are you guys looking forward to this? I am! I'm just gonna be like slow walk running, because running and talking at the same time is, while holding a phone to my face, is quite some multitasking, which this blonde girl is not really good at. But yeah. Oh, hi, kitty. Oh, seeing the local wildlife. Anyways, yeah. Anybody on yet? I'm out. We have a little field next to our house. It's really nice to have during this kind of quarantine shut-in. I don't have to just stick to our neighborhood or our yard. I can go out in our little field. It has a little half-a-mile loop around it, which is really, really nice. So I'm just gonna be out here. I see. Looks like there's about maybe 6 people on. Say hi if you're on. Give me a wave. Give me a hello. There we go. Seeing some more people on. So, anyways, let's check what the time is. Alright, looks like we've got a couple minutes. I am totally expecting a lot of selfies on here. So wherever you are, take a picture, put it down in the comments. I want to see where you guys are doing your run. If it's inside in your living room, which I've been seeing some people do, which is nuts. There was one guy I was watching and he was doing 100 miles in his living room. And he had it all live, and so I was checking in randomly. It's like, you're nuts. That's crazy nuts. If you're in your living room, if you're in your backyard, or in your neighborhood, or if you're in a little local field like me, I want to know where you guys are at. All right, looks like we're 1 minute away. I also want to see everybody's times below, too. I want to just, however you did. Stick it down below in the comments with your selfie. Just for fun. See, we're going. All right, guys. Woohoo! Turn this. Oh, it's not letting me rotate. There we go. All right. And they're all off on our, what did we call it? The bunny fun run. Yeah, it's Easter tomorrow. I can't believe it's Easter tomorrow. I don't know if anybody has plans. As far as what we're all doing in quarantine, I know me and my husband are just gonna have a little brunch together. He is still able to work, which is great. But we'll have a little morning together, have some good food. There we go. And because I'm doing this live, I may have to, depending on how my battery lasts, but fortunately we live really close to where I'm walking. So I might just go back to the house and have to plug in. So we will see. We might be just fine. It is a really nice day today so far. I was really concerned with all the wind we were having earlier. I wasn't sure how that would go. We're runners. We can handle any kind of weather, but I'm oddly picky. I can give me negative 20 degrees, give me 110 degrees. I love extreme weather, but I hate wind. Like, that is something I have very little tolerance for, which obviously Central Washington is the perfect place to live if you love the wind. But I'm out. I still got my t-shirt on. I feel like this weather is getting warmer. Summer's around the corner. I've got my Red Devil shirt on to represent Run Wenatchee. I know they just had to cancel that race this year, just like pretty much every other summer race. But check them out next year. It was such a fun race. I did the 25K last year, and being still kind of new to the Wenatchee area, I've just jumped into some of these local races right when we moved here, and the Red Devil one was by far my favorite. It was just gorgeous. It's kind of up and back around Kashmir. Forget which trail system that is, but so beautiful. And you run through little streams, and you have views of the enchantments. And I liked the amount of hills in it. Like, it wasn't all up and then all down, which is kind of how Horse Lake is, which I love that one too. That was a blast. But with the Red Devil one, you're just up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, which I really enjoy. I had a blast. So you guys look into that for next year. And they have different distances. I know they have a 25K and a 50K, but I think they also have a 10 or 11K. Don't quote me on that, but look them up. They're awesome. Joel, you're awesome. How are you guys doing so far? About 5 minutes in. I'm just gonna be on here chatting for the hour, whether you're walking, whether you're running, or wherever you are. I wanna just put in some of my own personal tips for what it's like training for, or just some good 5K training and racing tips. So I'll do that in a little bit. But right now, I'll do a quick introductory. My name is Anja Pedersen, and I am one of the massage therapists at the WRAC. And I also am a running coach as well. I mainly work like with biomechanics, working with form, anything that's great. I mean, it's great for injury prevention and building efficiency. And so I do that as well through the WRAC, and more training on that mental side, trying to get that brain to muscle connection and what it feels like to run correctly or more efficiently. And something I've been passionate for a really long time. I've been a competitive runner for about 8 years now. Prior to that, I was a competitive dog sled racer. Random fun fact. You don't really hear a lot about those. But I got into running because I've always loved endurance sports, and I was originally a road racer, and I jumped into a little local, 5K road race. No training, but I had a blast, and I ended up doing really well, surprisingly. And I thought, I wonder what would happen if I actually trained. And so I just totally jumped right in and just, flipped my life around, and I just became a runner. And 5K was definitely like my favorite. And I think within a couple years in, I was able to drop it down to, I think my fastest 5K time is a 16:24 on the track. And I actually had some hopes to actually qualify for the Olympic trials. But at that same time, I also discovered the trail running scene. And as somebody who's really into the outdoors, that also kind of filled that that gap as well, coming from being a sled dog racer. I love the outdoors. And so I got into trails, but I still love the road. I still love the 5K. That is definitely one of my favorite distances because it is so brutally hard. But, and there's just a lot that goes into a 5K. The whole training behind it is really intriguing to me. But it's also short. So it's extreme pain for 3.1 miles. But, I don't know, it's a really interesting distance to me, and I do hope to get back in next year. Right now, I am 25 weeks pregnant with our first. We're really excited. Our little baby boy is due in July, and it's been an amazing journey and really humbling. It's especially as somebody who's been a competitive athlete their whole life, having my body change and having to limit myself, but it's so good, and we're so excited to have a little in our life. And yeah, so right now, I mean, I've cut back my mileage. I obviously a huge chunk, especially coming from, I've gotten to the point where I am 100-mile per week runner, and I've been doing that probably for the past 5 years. But right now it's just really having fun, getting out, doing what I want to do. When I'm tired, I stop and go home and just enjoy the process. And so that's been a lot of fun. What time is it? We're almost 10 minutes in. So yeah, as far as my trail experience goes, I love the ultra distances. I have attempted a 100-miler. That was actually one of my very first ultras I attempted, which I thought, go big or go home, which is not always the smart thing to do. But because I didn't really know what I was doing and my training was all over the place, I made it to mile 70 and my knees were because I hadn't trained very much and I didn't really have the base mileage. My knees were so inflamed because this race had a lot of steep descents, and so my knees they weren't ready for it. And so I called it at mile 70. It was a really hard day too, because I think it was about 2 a.m. that I called it. It was blizzarding with 40-mile-per-hour winds, and we're up on these ridge lines with no trees, no protection. And I think I had the start of hypothermia because I was just shaking uncontrollably, and then it started getting to the point where I was getting really warm. And I got into the aid station, and they all encouraged me to stop, and I, being the stubborn person that I am, I'm glad that I was able to listen to them. So anyways, short story long, that's my longest attempt. Right now, I think my longest races I've done are 100Ks, which is about 64 miles. I love that distance. I love the 50-mile distance, but I think my favorite ultra distance is what's classically known as the shortest ultra, which is a 50K. I just love it. I love being out on the trails, and because I have more of a speed background, I love moving fast, and I'm finding I'm not the greatest at moving fast for super, super long distances, but for 50Ks and under, even 25Ks, I think are a fantastic trail distance. And just because a 25K isn't considered an ultra, it can still be tough. So I love the trail scene, whatever the distance is, preferably the shorter so I can move fast. So yeah. Anyways, what time is it? The sun is coming out. 7 minutes in. If any of you guys are outside, Like, the sky is incredible right now. It's like you've got every style of cloud. You can kind of see the enchantments. We live over on the east side, so we can see the enchantments over here. And it is gorgeous. I love it. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about some of my 5K racing tips, especially for, if any of you are, looking to get into it a little more competitively, or if you just want to up your time, if you don't have any idea where to begin with that, because 5K is, even though it's only 3.1 miles, it's still a very complicated distance, and there's still a lot of pacing involved. It's, even though you think, okay, it's only 3.1 miles, like just go ham, just go hard, and that's not the case. 3 miles can still be extremely long when you're going that hard and your heart feels like it's going to pop. So anyways, I wrote down some of my 5K training tips. I think I've got about 6 here, so listen up and let me know what you think down in the comments. First off, this is my number one tip. And this goes for any race distance, but basically run more in your training, in your scheduling. And if you want to be faster in anything, you need to run more and build that aerobic base. Just like anything else in life, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And increasing mileage will also build up that mitochondria in the muscles, which builds up that endurance. I mean, for example, elite 5Kers are running about 70 to 100 mile weeks. Like, to put that into perspective, even though despite it's just a 3.1 mile race, they are still putting in a ton of weekly mileage. And basically, I mean, that's, you want a lot of that mileage to be aerobic, like 85 to 95% aerobic, which aerobic is the ability to process oxygen in the body, and higher mileage is what's going to build that up. I actually really surprised myself this last summer. I mean, I didn't do really any speed work. I was coming off of a lot of high mileage ultra training. I had just ran a 50-mile race, and then 2 weeks after I jumped into a local 5K, which is fun, but like I said before, I don't remember doing any speed work other than like intermittent strides, and we'll talk about that later. But I ended up running 17:31, which is pretty, I mean, nowhere near my fastest 5K time, but pretty decent for a 5K and for somebody who isn't doing actual like 5K training workouts. And so that's a good example. I had an amazing aerobic base built, and so my body just had that endurance built in the muscles. And so yeah. So yeah, that brings us to the 80-20 rule, which basically means, and that's something that gets easily misinterpreted in a schedule, because we think like, okay, the faster we get, we need to do more quality workouts, we need to be pushing ourselves all the time. And no, it's like that base building, that aerobic base building is the most important. And the 80-20 rule, which goes for really any training schedule, 80% of your weekly mileage is going to be slow, like really, really slow. Like ability to have conversations, stopping and smelling the flowers. Like, you're just keeping your heart rate low. And then 20% of that is going really, really hard. But it's so easy, especially like 80% is a huge amount of slow running. And a lot of those runs are going to feel really, really good and pleasant because it's you're not pushing yourself. You're just getting the mileage in, and it's really easy. Even for me, I wear a heart rate monitor just to keep myself accountable. But it's easy to want to go fast because it's like, hey, I feel good. Let's push it a little bit. It's like, no. You need to stick to that 80% slow aerobic base. And so, like, I can't explain this enough, but going slow and building up that aerobic base, because that's how the mitochondria develops in the muscles. It's not going to develop when you're going hard all the time. Your body's just going to bonk, which is another term for just break down, because your muscles are going to be so depleted and they're never going to adapt and get stronger. So yeah, anyways, the biggest tip out there is slow down. So yeah, I guess for like an example week of that would be basically any training schedule, whether it's a 5K or an ultra distance. I usually have Mondays are usually like what I consider my easy days or my recovery days, and which that means even recover harder. Take the day off if you can, or go on a short, easy walk. But basically, you're doing nothing. And then Tuesday, sometimes that's track. Usually, I tend to have more of my track workouts on Wednesday. But I'll do like an easy run on Tuesday, and then go hard on Wednesday, and then Thursday's easy. Friday maybe another long, easy day. And then I get a tempo run in, which is not going to be, half as hard as a track workout day. And then after that, I do a long run day. And so really, that's a good example of like, I'm only really doing one extremely hard workout a week. Tempo is not that hard. You're pushing yourself. You are getting out of that aerobic zone and into the anaerobic, but your heart rate's still staying at like 75 to 80%. So when I'm training, somebody's cleaning out their pool. So yeah, when I'm training for a really hard 5K, I'm still only putting maybe one, maybe 2 track workouts a week. But that's tops. Everything else, slow, long mileage. And still important with that 5K. You want that long run on the weekend, and then a medium long run during the weekday. Even when I'm in back in the day when I was really into extreme 5K training, I would still, for a long run, it was still at least a 15-mile long run. And yeah, like I said before, it just builds up that resistance in your muscles and that endurance so that you can just cream it on that 5K. Which I know I was talking about heart rate earlier. If you don't have a GPS watch, I really recommend, especially if you're really wanting to invest into PRing in a 5K or getting a lot faster in a 5K. GPS watches are amazing, not just for tracking your speed and distance. But if you can get one that can read your heart rate, learn what your heart rate is, learn what your aerobic heart rate is versus your anaerobic, and then you can really, really fine tune your paces. And so that's, I use it for accountability because I do end up, it's so easy to want to push myself on those easy days. And so it's a really nice reminder to look down my watch and like, hey, I can slow way down. And then also for those workouts to know, like, am I going the correct hard pace I need to go that my body needs right now. And it's what's great about the heart rate, because things can change daily, especially depending on how tired you are. And sometimes you do have to adjust your workouts. And so, but having a heart rate monitor, it kind of, it helps really fine tune and adjust what you need and makes it basically really easy. So if you're ever curious, like, oh, what should my pace be? Learning your heart rate will give you the information you need and will give you great feedback. I use, see on here, I'm wearing a Suunto. Suunto is my favorite brand. This is a monster. This is a bulky guy. It is the Ambit Peak 3. I love it. It's a great combo. It's more of a mountaineering watch because you can read the altitude. It has a barometer on it. And as well as I can have my pace and distance. But as a trail runner, especially when I do like the extreme mountain races, it's very important for me to know my elevation gain, almost more so than the mileage and pace, because I need to learn how to climb really well. But anyways, I love this watch. It is heavy. I have gotten used to it. I do wear it in road races now, but it did take a little getting used to because it's a really heavy watch. But you can, there's so many different kinds. I do also recommend the Garmin. It's good bang for your buck. It's not as extremely expensive, but it still has a really accurate heart rate as well as pace and distance. So anyways, Suunto, which is spelled Suunto, or Garmin. Those are my two favorite watches I really recommend. So yeah, how are y'all doing? What is it? 24 minutes in? Wow, we're flying. How are you guys doing? Oh, there are some dogs. And as far as another big training tip, which as you are following what your racing plans are, is consistency. Consistency is key. It's so common that, for every, most racers you meet, it's, they feel guilty, they took some weeks off, or it's like, they were really into their schedule for maybe a month or so, and then it kind of like, it lost its juice, and it's like, hey, this isn't as, thrilling or fun as it was in the beginning. And that's when it gets really tough, really sticking to your schedule. Obviously, you want to adjust some things. You don't, if you're sick, if you're injured, if you do actually need a rest day, your body's screaming at you to slow down, then sure, it's good to adjust your schedule then. But when you're not following your schedule for at least 80 to 90% of your whole race plan, you're not going to get the results that you need. And boy, if I had $1 for every time I was at the starting line and a runner said, boy, I don't feel confident today. I didn't train like I should have. And it's like, hey, did you follow your race plan or your goals. And it's like, nah, not really. Well, then sure, yeah, you should be a little worried. So it really comes down to like, there's always those two people. It's that person who doesn't feel confident because they didn't follow their training plan, or the other person that did, and they're so excited to be there, and they're so excited to get into the racing season, to finally see the results of all their hard work. And to me, that's like one of my most favorite feelings as a competitive runner. Is it's like I put in months of hard work and consistency and all that high mileage, and it is draining. Like, it's a lot of it's not really fun. It gets really tiring. But the end result is so exciting, and that's what I live for. And starting at that starting line, it's like I did all that I could. I'm confident in my abilities because I put in the hard work, and now I get to see what the results are and test myself, and that's why I'm a runner. I love that. I love testing, seeing where my limitations are, but you can't really do that when you don't follow the plan. So consistency. I can't say that enough. Other than along with your long hard or your long easy runs, or just any of your easy aerobic base building days, I do encourage strides in my clients. I do this for everybody. And strides, they're not an all-out sprint. You're still, I would probably say it's like your 800 meter pace. So it's not a sprint, but you're still pushing yourself. And I encourage clients to go for about 15 to 20 seconds strides, rest a minute or 30 seconds, do it again. Usually have them do that about 4 to 10 times in the middle of an easy or a slow aerobic base building day, or at the very end of a run. And what that does, it's not about building that lung power. It's about building that elasticity in your muscles, getting that pop, getting that bounce and snap back in your legs, as well as it just really encourages a more efficient form. And like when you're doing strides, and you're trying to learn what proper form is, basically you can't run incorrectly when you are, like even in an all-out sprint. You can't heel strike. Your body is naturally going to land underneath its center of gravity. And so strides are really going to help fine-tune those little areas, make that brain to muscle connection. So I really encourage those, doing those at least 3 times a week, only on easy days, or sometimes, I use it as a little warm-up before a track workout too. But it's not something that is going to tire you out. You should actually feel good after doing strides, like feeling really invigorated, blood's going to the muscles. It's not about exhausting yourself. If you're thinking, only doing 4 strides, well, that was really easy, maybe I'll do more. No, it's not about exhausting yourself. It's just about building efficiency. And over time, you're going to see incredible results, even in your form alone, just being consistent with doing strides. So that's a big thing I really encourage in my clients. I guess also, with all of this, as you are increasing those miles, making sure you're eating. I know that's really basic, but it's so easy to, it's like, okay, I'm becoming, or I'm getting more involved in my running and in my training, and people don't really think like, hey, I am burning an extra 5,000 calories a week. You gotta eat more. Your body needs those carbohydrates, that caloric intake, the nutrition to become a better runner. And I'm not saying like you have to be, so you have to follow an eating program to a T. Really learn what your body needs, feed it till it's satisfied. Even though, I really encourage clean eating, I still enjoy my snacks and goodies. My husband had to run to the grocery store last night, and he surprised me with a big box of donut holes. So even though I'm really good at eating as clean as possible, lots of vegetables, lots of good quality meat, but I also will enjoy some donut holes and brownies and cookies. I really like pastries. I'm a pastry girl. So really making sure that you're getting enough calories in. And I even encourage, especially when you're starting a new racing or training program, to food journal. And it's basically to be another way of accountability to make sure that you're getting enough calories in. Those tips. And then this is not necessarily physical as much as mental, but mental training is so important to becoming an amazing athlete. And I truly believe that's a lot of times what makes the difference between an elite runner versus just anybody else, a common runner, I guess. But they are just so mentally strong, and that's something that I'm delving more into the last couple years. I think it's really easy to put the mental side on the back burner because you don't feel, because running is so physical that you forget about the mental side. But actually running, I believe, and many other runners will say this too, that mental side is so important. So I really, really encourage spending a good 5 to 10 minutes a few times a week, just finding a quiet spot, rehearsing the race in your mind, just picturing yourself there, picturing yourself in the moment, and picturing yourself succeeding. And as well as picturing yourself handling not the greatest situations, like picturing yourself maybe throwing up in the middle of the race, or getting a bad sighting, or being passed, being humbled, and then picturing yourself coming out like positively on the other end. How are you reacting in a positive way to that maybe negative situation? And the brain is amazing over time, because the brain can't really decipher between a lie and what's reality. And so when you're mentally rehearsing, your brain thinks you're actually there. And so you're now, it really is a dress rehearsal. And so when you are in an actual physical situation where that's happening, your brain's like, I've been there, I've done that, I can do this. And you've got that muscle memory to where your body is more likely to respond in that situation. So that's something I really, really encourage people to practice. And even more so now, we've got the time. If you're not working right now, use this time to just really, really train the mind. It's amazing. You're going to get some killer results. I think far more than probably any physical training. I mean, some of my best races were actually because I was so mentally prepared, more than physical. And it's so surprising. And so I really encourage that, especially leading up to race, getting mentally prepared like the month before, planning on spending a good 10 to 15 minutes a day in your mind. So those are all good things. I guess, the final tip of all of it is just to have fun. Running should be fun. Well, for the most part. I mean, like I said before, sometimes those training days are just awful and it's just nothing but suffering, and I'm a sourpuss. I mean, that can happen a lot in training because it gets really exhausting, but that result is what I love. And so even in the pain, it's still all a joy to me. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't be a runner. Like, don't make yourself do something you don't want to do. If you hate running, maybe find a different sport. There's something for everybody, but because I love that result and I get that endorphin rush, especially. I love racing. I love competing. And that's what I strive to do in this sport. And so, yeah, enjoy it. It's so great for the body and the mind. I think endurance sports they teach you so much. They make you a stronger person. I feel like I'm much more able to handle the smaller annoying things in life so much better. I just feel a lot more grounded at being a runner. What time is it? 9:38. Woohoo! So yeah, how are you guys doing? You still out? I see 3 of you. Yes. So yeah, it's as far as all these training tips go, I mean, I know I said these were for 5K, but it kind of fits the mold for all race distances, from the mile to 100 miler. I mean, these are all important. So I do, even though I'm more of a biomechanics coach through the WRAC, I also do, I love building training programs as well. And so if you or you know of anybody who's interested on even just basically where to begin with base building, contact me, or as well as, if you're looking into increasing your efficiency, becoming or learning learning proper running mechanics. If you're an injury-prone runner and you're not sure what's going on, once we get the rack opened up again, come on in and we can use this time to just get better, heal up, and become stronger runners for 2021 or this fall. I don't know if there's going to be any races really this fall or what's going to be going on, especially in this situation we're at now. But yeah, this, for me, especially being in a season of pregnancy, a combination of that and being quarantined, this is a really good time to work on fine-tuning those little problem areas. Like I said before, it's going to be a good time for you to work on the mental side of things. I'm actually seeing a physical therapist right now. Pregnancy has kind of brought out some old injuries and I've been pushing them aside for many, many years. And so I'm learning to work through those, and there just couldn't be a better time to do that. My injuries were actually not running related. I had a crazy car accident 5 years ago, and I never sought proper therapy after it. And so I've been running injured for a really long time. But now I'm forced into rest, more of a rest mode, which is great. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity and have this time to just really delve into my weak areas. And so, yeah, that and the mental side, that's this is just a great time, a great opportunity to just get stronger in those areas. 9:41. Woo. So yeah, I kind of started a YouTube channel. If you know of anybody who's running and pregnant, like I was a little frustrated initially because there's just not a lot of resources out there for pregnant runners. And so I thought, I'm just going to start a YouTube channel just to kind of vlog my journey, also have different training tips for pregnant women. And so I just started a little YouTube channel on that. So any way to connect more and build this pregnant runner community, meeting new people, it's great. I love all the information out there now. I mean, the stigma has been broken where like running while pregnant is actually a really beneficial thing for both mother and baby. And obviously, every person is different. Everybody's journeys are different. Some mothers can run high mileage through their pregnancy. Some can do barely at all, but we're all just in kind of that same life together. So I thought I would just start my YouTube channel on that. And it's just under my name, Anja Patterson. If you know me, I am a sandal runner. Wait, can you see? I don't know. There we go. My phone doesn't want to turn. There, okay. I'm a Luna sandal runner. I run in them probably about 80% of my runs. Other than that, I usually run in ultras, which is another zero drop shoe. Zero drop means there's no heel lift. It's a complete flat, neutral shoe. Also really wide, which I like. I have a really wide toe box. I like my toes to be free and separate from each other. Those are personally my favorite. Everybody's foot shape is a little different. Everybody's a little used to a different type of style. And so I'm not a believer that one style fits all. You just kind of have to experiment and find what works for you. I've always been into really minimalist footwear. I just love the feeling of having ground feel and being free. And I do find, like the number one question I get is, do you trip a lot when you wear those? Don't your toes catch on rocks? No, not at all. I'm actually less likely to trip because I'm more mindful of where I'm stepping. And so the one thing with the Luna sandals is that you do have to be more mindful. But because I've been running in them for about 7 years, and actually my 1624 5K, I actually ran them in the Luna sandals, so that was really fun. But I'm more mindful of where I'm stepping. I feel like my body's adapted to it, so I'm a lot more efficient in them. Something with the sandals or with really minimal shoes, the more ground feel you feel, the faster your cadence is going to be, which is going to be that turnover. And you want to be able to pick your feet up. And I guess we've got 15 more minutes. We can talk a little bit about form here. So yeah, I know a lot of one of the biggest, one of the bigger problems a lot of runners experience, or they're encouraging, which is the 4-foot landing. And that was a big thing. When the book Born to Run came out, really, really good book, by the way, and that's actually how I learned about the Luna sandals. But ever since that came out, people felt like, okay, in order to better my running form, I need to land on my forefoot or on my toes. And that is not the proper guess, yeah, that wouldn't be the proper term at all. For me, when I train my clients, I encourage cadence, learning how to pick your feet up a lot faster, and that's where, the ground feel kind of comes in handy there. But when you are picking your feet up faster, you are naturally going to land underneath your center of gravity. And when you do land underneath your center of gravity, you're more likely to land more on your forefoot or midfoot. That being said, there's a lot of really efficient runners out there who do heel strike, but if you watch them in slow motion, they're still landing underneath their center of gravity. So I would not ever say, hey, in order to be a better or more efficient runner, you need to land on your forefoot. No, you want to learn how to land underneath your center of gravity. And that's because a lot of times one of the biggest problems when runners are trying to learn how to just land forefoot, they're still overstriding and they're still reaching beyond their body, and then they're pulling themselves forward on that forefoot, and that can cause a whole slew of other injuries. Sure, heel striking while you're overstriding can cause those shin splints or that instability in the ankles, but then when you're overstriding and reaching with your forefoot, you can cause a lot of metatarsal or top of your foot problems. You're actually, those bones are really little and itty bitty, and when you're putting that much pressure on them, you get little fractures. So I don't suggest that. Suggest number one tool when learning how to become a more efficient runner is just learning to land underneath your center of gravity, upping your cadence. Maybe even you can download a little metronome on your phone, or there's actually a lot of songs. Most popular songs beat at about 180 beats a minute, and that's around where you want to be. And it's going to feel a little unnatural at first because you feel like you're bouncing a lot, or it's going to feel like you're moving a lot quicker than you should. But that's but as you build up brain to muscle connection, it's going to feel more natural. Your body's going to adapt, and it will start evening out. So that bounce is going to go away. You just want to learn that rhythm, and that's what's going to help you land underneath that center of gravity and save your body. And so cadence, as well as learning the fall, that's basically letting gravity just pull you forward. It's not about that push and grab. It's about leaning. You're falling from your ankles, letting your feet catch underneath you. You're not bending at the hips. You're just at a straight line. The more you lean, the faster you go. If you look at sprinters, they're in just a full lean, but you can see that the line from their heel to the top of their head is straight. So it's basically any pace, doesn't matter. You still want to have that straight line. And same with cadence. You could be running a 6-minute mile versus a 11-minute mile, and your cadence is still basically going to be the same. Sprinters, those are a little bit of a different story. Their turnover is probably closer to 195, but for any other runner, our cadence is all going to be basically about the same. Anyways, let's see what time it is. Oh, we've got about 9 more minutes. How are you guys doing? Also, just a reminder, this would be so fun to encourage, using this as a time for charity. If there's any local businesses or anybody that's affected by the pandemic, donating to them, or being more mindful about supporting local businesses. I know this has got to be such a hard time for restaurants right now. My husband and I are doing a fantastic job about doing a lot of takeout, which is good for them, but no, I'm kidding. It's actually been really fun to be able to do that and really help try to keep some of our favorite businesses afloat. But I am planning on donating to the Union Gospel Mission. We don't know who they are. They're really, really great nonprofit that supports and takes care of those who are, homeless or really struggling below the poverty line, and those people are so affected by this pandemic right now, and especially their live-in shelters are completely quarantined to protect them, which is fantastic. But none of these people who are barely scratching to get by, they're even more so out of work right now, and so I'm planning on giving to them, and so that they can be that support for these people during this really dire time. But anyway, you should check them out. They're a really, really great nonprofit, and I just love all the work that they do. There's it. All right, we're getting really close to the end of my little chat. So this was really fun. Like I said, you can find me here on Facebook. I'm more active on my Instagram, which you can just look up my name, Anja Pedersen. And if you have any questions, also once the WRAC gets opened up again, come on in. I specialize in more sports and rehabilitation type massage, as well as being a form coach. And then on the side, I do basically like the basic running coach stuff, like helping build schedules. And I call myself kind of any distance, any surface runner. So if you want to build up your speed for a 5K, or if you want to get into a 50-mile ultra, I can do all of the above. So yeah, let me know. Like I said, comment down below, post your pictures. I want to see where you guys did this. I want to see those times. This is fun. Our virtual community. I know this is a really hard time right now just because we can't go on group runs. We can't go hang with friends and family. And so I do really encourage you guys at this time to really stay connected over the phone, over social media. My group of running gals that I run with, we had a FaceTime chat yesterday just to connect, and it was just so good, and I missed running with them so much. But you can still find bits and pieces of your community during this time. It's so good for accountability because it's really easy to feel alone right now. So if you're trying to continue your training, your working out, really reach out and I encourage you all just to take care of each other and have that community where you can keep communication open and encourage each other to just keep trucking along, because we're basically all in this together. Just a few more minutes, and the enchantments, I don't know if you can kind of see, there's a little bit of the enchantments are behind the clouds. Of course, videoing does not do justice, but I do find when they are enveloped in the clouds, I actually think they're more pretty. The clouds give it more of a intense look. it's hard to explain, but it makes it, it just gives it more texture. And I love the texture of the clouds, the little blips of blue sky and sunlight and the snow up there. It's just so pretty. I love it. I love it, love it. All right. So, hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, staying healthy, staying home as much as you can, and doing what you can do to enjoy this time. And maybe, depending on how long this goes, so far it looks like we're into the beginning of May for this quarantine. Kind of fun. Maybe we should do another one of these. I don't know. Comment down below if this was something that you really enjoyed, listening to me blather on about random running things. But even though I'm the only one talking here, it still feels like there's a sense of community, and that we're all on this. We're all in this together. We're not alone. Even though it's all virtual, but it's still really fun to know, like, wow, there's a bunch of other people running at 9 o'clock together at the same time. Even though we're not together, we're not, in each other's space, and which is something that I enjoy, being in groups of people while I run and race, but still, it's nice to know that we're all doing this together. Alrighty, guys. Well, it is that time, and so I feel like I'm making lots of crinkle sounds. So yes, take care. Have an amazing weekend. Have a really great Easter tomorrow, whatever that entails. If you just maybe do something different, maybe go up to a mountaintop and have a picnic up there, or whatever sounds fun and enjoyable that you guys can do in your social distancing time right now. It is kind of a year of new traditions, especially not having, for me, or being pregnant and not doing any races this year, and being in quarantine and not seeing family or friends, but there's good in that too. Like I said, learning to slow down, learning to take deep breaths, and finding new ways to de-stress ourselves. So yeah, enjoy your time, stay healthy, and maybe we'll do this again soon. All right, guys. Happy running. Like I said before, I want to see pictures. I want to see all that you did during your time today. Take care, guys. Bye.